You've heard of kale and quinoa, but what if we told you the real superfoods were eaten 2,000 years ago by Roman soldiers, farmers, and emperors? The Roman Empire wasn't fueled by fast food. It was powered by some of the most surprising, and still edible, ancient foods in history. From fermented fish sauce to muscle-building grains, here are 10 forgotten Roman superfoods that helped build an empire and could still fuel your next meal. Spelt, the Roman muscle grain. Before modern wheat became common, Romans relied on spelt, which they called far. This ancient grain was packed with protein, fibre, and minerals like iron and zinc. Soldiers and gladiators ate spelt porridge to stay strong during long campaigns. It was the original meal prep carb of the empire. Spelt had a nutty flavour and could be turned into bread, cakes, or soups. It grew well in poor soils and was less demanding to process than modern wheat. Today you can find it in health stores, often labelled as farro. It's making a comeback because the Romans were clearly onto something. Figs, Rome's sweet energy. Forget candy bars. Roman athletes and travellers packed dried figs for energy on the go. These sweet fruits were full of natural sugar, calcium, fibre, and antioxidants. They were eaten fresh, dried, or mashed into desserts. Pliny the Elder even called figs the training food of champions. And there's a reason a fig tree shows up in the founding myth of Romulus and Remus. Figs were used in religious ceremonies, traded in markets, and served at fancy banquets. They were popular in all classes and grew across much of the empire. Still delicious today, figs are one of the easiest Roman superfoods to bring into your diet. Lentils, protein of the poor and wise. Lentils were a daily staple for both peasants and philosophers. They're cheap, filling, and high in protein, fibre, and iron. Romans ate lentils as pulse, a thick porridge mixed with onions, herbs, and sometimes olive oil. Cicero once said lentils were a symbol of simplicity and wisdom. That's a pretty strong endorsement for a tiny legume. Lentils were especially important during food shortages because they stored well and didn't require much land to grow. Modern science agrees they're one of the most efficient protein sources on Earth. Ancient wisdom tastes good too. Olive oil, liquid gold of the empire. Olive oil was much more than a cooking fat. It was a cornerstone of Roman life. People used it to fry, bake, drizzle, and even preserve food. It also showed up in medicine, cosmetics, and religious rituals. Roman soldiers received it in their rations, and noble families stored it in massive clay jars called amphorae. The highest quality oil came from Hispania and southern Italy. A well-stocked kitchen was judged by the freshness and colour of its olive oil. Rich in healthy fats and antioxidants, olive oil is still one of the best things you can cook with today. The Romans knew what was good. Garum, the umami explosion. This one might sound strange. Garum was a fermented fish sauce made by letting fish guts rot in the sun for weeks. Yes, it sounds gross, but Romans poured it on everything from meats to vegetables. It was their version of ketchup, just way funkier. Garum was full of minerals and protein, and many believed it helped with digestion. It was so popular that entire factories were built to make and export it. Some of the most expensive garums were sold like luxury perfume. You can still find modern versions if you're brave enough. It's salty, tangy, and actually pretty tasty if you don't think about how it's made. Chickpeas, the Roman power bean. Chickpeas, known as cicer in Latin, were loved by everyone from soldiers to senators. They were roasted as snacks, mashed into pastes, tossed into soups, and fried into fritters. Full of protein and fibre, chickpeas were easy to grow and store, making them one of the most reliable foods in the empire. Cicero, the Roman philosopher, was literally named after chickpeas. That's how important they were. Next time you eat hummus, remember you're snacking like a Roman. Grapes, sweetness and survival. Grapes were more than just a fruit. They were the base of wine, syrup, raisins, and medicine. Romans boiled grape juice into defrutum or sapa, a thick syrup used to sweeten foods before sugar existed. They also dried grapes into raisins for travel rations and preserved them in honey or vinegar. Grapes were a luxury at the table and a survival food in the field. They were rich in antioxidants and remained a central part of the Mediterranean diet. Even the god of parties, Bacchus, couldn't get enough. And honestly, who could blame him? Walnuts, the brainy snack. Romans believed walnuts were good for the brain because they looked like one. They were rich in omega-3 fatty acids, protein, and essential minerals. People ate them raw, ground into sauces, or mixed with honey and dried fruits for sweets. Walnuts were also used in medicine and religious ceremonies. In weddings, they were thrown to the guests as a symbol of fertility. Tasty, portable, and nutritious, walnuts were a Roman favourite and still make a great snack today. Pomegranates, the empire's antioxidant. Pomegranates were considered sacred and powerful. They were eaten fresh, pressed into juice, or used in cooking and sauces. Full of vitamin C, potassium, and antioxidants, they were believed to promote life, fertility, and strength. Pomegranate trees grew throughout the empire and were often featured in art and religious rituals. Roman physicians even prescribed pomegranate bark for stomach problems. They're still known today for their health benefits and rich flavour. The Romans didn't just eat them, they celebrated them. Leeks, the emperor's favourite vegetable. While we often think of Caesar and grapes, Emperor Nero was obsessed with leeks. He supposedly ate them daily to preserve his singing voice. No auto-tune back then. Leeks were eaten grilled, boiled, or raw in salads, and they were believed to cleanse the body and promote health. In colder climates, they thrived when other crops didn't, making them a reliable winter vegetable. Roman soldiers even carried leeks in their kits as multi-purpose food and medicine. Today, leeks are praised for their anti-inflammatory and antioxidant benefits. Nero might have been crazy, but his diet had its moments. The Roman Empire stretched across 3 continents, conquered nations, built cities, and changed the world, all on a diet that came straight from nature. These weren't just snacks. They were survival tools, trade goods, status symbols, and medicine all rolled into one. Roman farmers, soldiers, and emperors knew the power of food to fuel not just the body, but the empire itself. From high-protein grains like Spelt to antioxidant-packed fruits like pomegranates, these superfoods gave them strength, endurance, and health. Today, we've replaced much of that with processed foods and artificial flavours. But the good news, these ancient ingredients are still out there. And they're not just edible, they're extraordinary. So next time you're at the store, skip the ultra-sweet cereal and grab some chickpeas, figs, or even some real olive oil. You won't just be eating healthy, you'll be eating like Rome still rules the world.